Pleasure you could be with us. I am Pious Kojo Backah. On to our very first story, which of course is a developing story. We are following up for you on that. And government has laid before Parliament 3 amended bills as part of measures to revamp domestic revenue mobilization and also help the country secure an IMF deal. Now, when passed, the Income Tax Amendment Bill, the Excise Duty Amendment Bill, and Growth Sustainability Amendment Bill are expected to rake in about 4 billion cedis annually. Now, some businesses, however, are strongly kicking against these taxes, saying it could lead to the collapse of their enterprise. One basically of these firms is Agribusiness Chamber, and Anthony Morrison has been speaking to us.
This point of economic restructuring, one would have thought that the government would have brought up incentives that will strengthen indigenous food production and also the factories to be able to continue to keep a lot of Ghanaians in employment. But what we are seeing is not the best. Already, when you bring a container of agro input, you have about 15 taxes to pay. And I can tell you for a fact that over 500 containers belonging to agricultural input importers are stuck at the airport as a result of already introduced 5% total import levy. This will impact very heavily on the food production in the country, and this will also affect our food security interventions. One would think that at this point in time, job creation will be a priority of government. Making available affordable food will be another issue of priority to government. But what we are seeing so far, certain introduction of new taxes are not helping the agricultural sector. This is going to affect poultry production. This is going to affect grains and cereals production across the country. And I must say that we are not in support of this. This is very disingenuous to local businesses in Ghana. This will not help Ghanaian business owners, whether you are a producer, an importer, or you are into manufacturing sector. This must be redone. It's something that the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is seriously working towards to see what we can do within our means to make sure that our MPs in Parliament, who also have constituents who feed and also produces food, are not overburdened with some of these taxes that are necessary to economic growth and economic viability.
Well, we've also got to appreciate the difficulty that the government is in at this point, and it needs the support of the business community, such as those from the agri sector, to be able to pull this through, in fact, securing an IMF deal for that matter. And so how can your sector help in this regard, if not help by paying taxes, some more taxes?
Well, the sector is already in a complete mess. We're coming up of the COVID-19. We are currently experiencing the post-COVID effects. We are currently also experiencing the problem with the Russian-Ukraine war, making food prices, especially inputs, gone up by 3 times the price. The forex exchange is not supporting importation of this import. And domestically, government is imposing more additional taxes that are not addressing the challenges of the industry, but rather mitigating against the prospects of the sector. The new revenue measures, whether they are looking at physical sustainability or not, for the agriculture sector, we have to eat. Everybody in Ghana has to eat, whether you are president or you are in the media or you are in the military or wherever you find yourself. You have to eat, and we need to produce very good nutritious food for this country. We just developed our national nutrition policy that is focusing on enhancing the national nutrition sectors. We can't continue to overburden a sector that is already overburdened.
Meanwhile, a senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Seriam Kawo, says government's approach to introduce new revenue measures is problematic.
We have categories of companies that are going to pay for it. We have category A, B, and C. Category A companies are going to pay 5% on their profit before tax. And these category A companies include the banks, the insurance companies, telecommunication companies, bulk oil distribution companies, and the rest. Category B, those companies that are in mining and other related activities, they are going to pay 1% of their gross production. The total gross production is what they are going to pay on. And then the other category will be paying 2.5% on the profit before tax. This very one is also going to put a lot of pressure on the companies, but they have been paying it already, just that they have categorized it in a different way. And for that reason, Parliament may consider to get that one. But the other bills are going to put a lot of burden on the Ghanaian. The other issue is that the approach to which we implement our policies becomes a problem for me, because we go to Parliament, and once we hear this kind of ups and downs, where Parliament will be telling us that let's expect a showdown, some of these things discourage the taxpayer from paying the taxes. Government needs to adapt a different strategy when it wants to announce these policy measures to carry the Ghanaian citizens along.
But 4.5 billion cedis annually, that's what they're hoping to get out of these taxes. Is that overambitious, do you think?
Yeah, for me, the lessons that we've learned from e-levy, where we thought that e-levy was going to bring us so much amount of money, and then we've not been able to close the loopholes, and it is a tax that people can easily avoid, then going for this particular one is an ambition that we want to carry out. But we only have to make sure that when the tax is passed, we do not have ways by which other people can avoid the tax. Tax avoidance is not a crime in Ghana. And so we need to ensure that there are no loopholes where people will avoid it, but they will be able to pay for it. And then the tax collectors, that is the Ghana Revenue Authority, would also ensure that they put in measures that will enable government rake in the needed amount of money that we need.
All right, so it is important we have a broader consultation and, of course, get a broader understanding on this whole issue. And joining us via Zoom is the Gilbert Chiado, who is a senior manager in tax regulation unit at Deloitte, Ghana, to help us appreciate all that is happening in relation to these new taxes. Gilbert, grateful you could join me on Business Live. I'm pretty sure you've been monitoring all the commentary on this latest development in Parliament and the new taxes which we are seeking to, pass. Now, from where you sit, do you think enough sensitization has been done on these new taxes?
I think that if you follow the conversation that has been going on in the general public, you allude to the fact that that broad consultation has not really drilled down well. And of course, I mean, some industries and some associations are already speaking up and would have appreciated that there could have been a broader consultation for government to see its impact on their cost of production, how it's going to affect their pricing, and the overall broader perspective of issues. And I think that it has not been forthcoming. And if that has been the case, I think that there could have been common grounds where, I mean, both parties would have reached some form of an agreement, and that will help in the smooth implementation of this bill and the impact that in terms of the information flow that it will have on the general public. Because some of these create a certain perception, and it also affects investment, because if the local industries are already agitating, then what will be the impact on my investment should I even venture into that space? So that's what I have to say on that subject matter.
I'm wondering why it will be difficult for government to engage, stakeholders in relation to that matter. But what do you think is the issue, bearing in mind that, these taxes are part of the prerequisite requirements before we get an IMF deal? Why is it difficult for government to do so?
Great. You know, there are already challenges within the Ghanaian economy. Some are of the feeling that government should look at other means of mobilizing revenue other than increasing taxes. People have already proposed that government should look at, cutting down their expenditure and looking at other areas where they can rake in much revenue. So already these issues are lingering on. Of course, we need to ensure that the economy is back on its track so that investor confidence will come and people will get the needed investment both locally and then outside of our jurisdiction to propel the economy, to grow. Nevertheless, or that said, you need to also have a balancing scale and look at the impact that these measures, in as much as you seek to raise in revenue, what will be the impact on businesses? And you also have to do a thorough assessment of maybe the existing taxes that are already being implemented. How has it fared? And how has it? Yes, you may have generated revenue, but some businesses may have closed. You may have generated revenue, some people may have lost their jobs. So what is the balancing scale? It's very, very important that you do that, policy analysis, its impact on the economy, the resulting effect. And then in view of that, whenever you come out with a policy, I think that you may get the needed attention from the Ghanaian business economy.
Gilbert, as we speak, Parliament is on break to come back and, of course, vote on it. Now, I don't know where you sit on all of these or how you foresee things happening in Parliament. We certainly also don't know. But do you think these bills can be passed?
It could be, depending on the urgency of the issue. This is not the first time we have been to this crossroads. Successive government have been to this crossroads and then have been able to push through some sensitive or very important bills. The only thing is that we have a hanging parliament, so maybe the dynamics could be different now, but it all borders on broader consultation and ensuring that parliamentarians, be it at the either side, whether as the minority or the majority, there is that broader understanding of the reason why we seek to implement this policy. And if things are not looked in the lens of political lines, but are looked at the broader objective, that would help the Ghanaian populace. I think that some of these bills could be passed. But the ones that are with strings, there are issues surrounding them, could be hanging because some of these industries could be engaging some of these parliamentarians to ensure that these bills are not made law by virtue of the impact that it could have on their businesses.
You did mention that we could see Parliament passing the bill or not. I want to know the consequence of we not having passed the bill. What could that mean?
Of course, we can draw inference from how this e-levy fared. Government had an expectation and had amply budgeted for the revenue that they were going to raise from the e-levy. All these things were in place up until when it got to Parliament, and there were these back and forth, and eventually led to some reduced rates and also some thresholds being implemented. Of course, it then affected government's projection in terms of what I intend to rake in and what I would use what I've raked in for. So, of course, it's going to affect the projections of government, and it will definitely have some rippling effect on some sectors of the economy in terms of the needed funds that is needed for economic development.
I'm pretty sure you've seen these three new taxes they seek to introduce or implement when passed. Now, one of such is Growth and Sustainability Amendment Bill. A lot of business operators do have an issue with that. I don't know where you sit with that, but what do you make of that particular bill?
I think that my lecturer, Senna, ironically, he lectured me when I was in UCC some years ago. He alluded to a very important fact. This is not a new tax.
Okay.
I think that it is coming in another form. Some companies were already paying. Some banks, some companies providing mining support services some insurance company, and some communication service providers were already paying these taxes. I think that the plan now is just roping more people, but then in as much as it is good, it needs to be looked at carefully. It is very important that we understand the genesis of this tax. When this was implemented, they set out a timeline where some of these taxes would definitely, having achieved its intended purpose, will come to an end. But we have seen that successive government have always extended the date of expiration of some of these taxes. And with this provision, I think that they have now even, they have now broadened the tax base. Nobody knows when it's going to end. For those who are already on it, especially the financial service sector, they are already struggling because they were already paying the NFSL as well as the financial sector recovery levy, making that 10%. And of course, this is going to affect the cost of doing business for some, because some of these costs they incur, they will find a way of ensuring that they embed it into their service offering in order to make substantial recoveries for profit. So it's very important, in as much as it is good that some entities are coming in, it must be looked at critically. Either than that, the objective for setting up these policies in the long term will not be achieved.
Indeed. Grateful for your time, Gilbert Irinchiado, here on Business Live. He is a senior manager with Tax Regulation Unit at Deloitte, Ghana, sharing his perspective with us on the new 3 amended or new taxes which will be passed some few minutes or hours to come. We are keeping an eye on that development, and of course we'll keep you posted in our subsequent bulletins. A reminder, you're still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back with more. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is today leading government's delegation to engage his Chinese counterparts over restructuring of the country's debt. Now, this was after he attended the UNECA high-level meeting in Ethiopia and engaging the Paris Club members at the gathering as well. My colleague George Yafe has more.
Some are describing this meeting as a tough one, looking at the posture of China when it comes to how it has handled debts owed by some countries. This because in the past, it has rejected push for debt cancellation. However, some have maintained that looking at Ghana's standing in the region, it may be able to get around the Chinese government when it comes to the country's debts. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has told Joy Business that he's looking at reaching a deal with the Chinese government when it comes to restructuring Ghana's 1.7 billion debt owed China. The minister has also argued that he sees debt cancellation deal with China as a last option and not an immediate one. Thus, negotiations with China is very important because of its impact on the ongoing discussions with the Paris Club for debt cancellation. Ken Ofori-Atta is also hoping to secure some financial assurance from the Chinese government in terms of participating in this IMF program for Ghana. But in all of these things, what will Ghana be given to secure this favorable debt restructuring or debt cancellation from China? Well, this could be a billion-dollar question, waiting for an answer.
All right, so let's move on to some other stories. And the Golden Star Wasa Limited has shut down its operations at its Bensu operational site in the Takwan Swayam municipality of the Western region, which contributes 1/3 of its total production for the next 3 months following an attack on the company and its staff by some illegal miners within their operational area. Now, Group Corporate Affairs Manager of the company, Gerald Bwachi, speaking to the media after a facility tour, said the company will be losing out considering the knock-on effects of the company's contribution to the national economy and, of course, statutory payment. There is more in this report.
On Thursday, 16th March 2023, illegal miners set on fire some properties belonging to Golden Star Wasa Mine at Benso in the Takwansiaye municipality of the Western region. The illegal miners set 12 vehicles, among other assets, ablaze, including excavators, ambulances, and pickups, forcing the staff of the company to run for their lives. Community Affairs Manager Zakaria Isa takes the media on a tour to see for first-hand the level of destruction caused by the illegal miners. The site, he explains, cannot be functional in the next 3 months, which will cause the company a great deal of loss considering how much has been invested into restarting the mining at Benso.
Golden Star Wasa Limited I've been operating in Benso from 2009 to 2012. And the operation here was suspended in January 2012 due to the fall in gold prices and other operational challenges. And when the project was acquired by the Chinese, they decided to come back here and then see whether we can restart the operations. So 500 meter radius, you have to compensate all the areas. You can even pay more than 500 because the more you pay, the safer it is for you to operate. So we did that, and we have the farmers here, we have paid them the compensations.
About 4 minutes drive from the operational site, we were led to one of the pits of the mine where we were showed where the conventional mining takes place as well as the illegal mining site, which is within the mining area. Zakaria Isa explains the mining giant has 500-meter buffer reserve as a requirement of the industry in that enclave. However, the illegal miners have encroached on the buffer zone as well as the mining pit area, actively engaged in illegal mining. He explains further what ensued on the 16th day of March 2023.
They are not only doing the galamsey around this area. All these areas are swampy areas, and they mine or they work up towards where our pit is. And closer you get to the pit, the risk it is. So the security came and talked to them on a brotherly way so that they understand and then evacuate during the bleed. So this is the action place, and it's forced within the 500 buffer, mandatory buffer for mining, active mining to take place. So this is the area we call the I zone, and this is the galamsey spot.
Paramount Queen Mother of Wasafiase, Nana Efuaba Kunajua II, has been speaking on behalf of traditional leaders.
Very bad. As I'm seeing it, oh yeah, me were TV do na mrekesi, but me bought two in the machine. Eshe kasa wash so excavator kroya hen. No wash water tank, wash cars. Me mbana ta, me ntwan trouble or kobe 30. Cars are wash one. Na pick up a crow cry hen. Wa how crow pa. Inti ya basre assembly na one more boy ye. That one boy hen.
Group Corporate Affairs Manager of Golden Star Wasa Mine, Gerald Boache, in an interview said the recent attack by the illegal miners will reduce investors' confidence and their production.
There are investors here, I would say, even for local economy. Because we are here, there are people doing mobile money transfer, there are people opening chop bars. Those are small-scale investors, isn't it? So if the place is not safe, if they would stop operating, how much more that investor that is bringing in hard-earned dollars? That should tell you straight away that it's going to reduce investor confidence. And the fact that nobody is saying anything about it, we're waiting at least for somebody of serious authority to condemn the situation, because then that emboldens the galamsey.
In Athalia Kwanzaa, Joy News, Benso.
And that's all in this package by way of Business Life. I am Pious Kojo Backah. You can always get business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Always a pleasure serving you. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.